honest, a lot of them. People are being very irrational, a lot of them.
MPs we have, right? 63, not more than that. Only 63. And you know the funny thing is, Arville, we're having this big conversation about 63 individuals getting an increase in salary. I'm going to point out to you how hypocritical. I tell you already on this platform before, you know, that Jamaicans don't like politicians. I mean, see politicians take them picnic and them own family earnings and give it to constituents. But you can't tell them, no vote for me. One of these days I might put my hat in the ring. Well, not to vote for me. Because my little Christian money will never go to no constituents. Because Jamaican people don't like politicians. I tell them that already, and I gave you many examples. When COVID-19 hit the world, a global pandemic, and they started to develop a vaccine that could potentially assist in minimizing the effect of COVID. Jamaicans were the first group of people who cry out loud and said, don't give it to politicians. No, give it to politicians first. Make them test it. And the reason they said that was simply because if the vaccine weren't good, make the politician first dead. That was Jamaicans. That is how Jamaicans view politicians. I mean, I say it because it's something with me experience. I've seen it right here in Jamaica. When the first vaccine come, no Jamaican would take it up. Them say, give it to the politician first, make them go take it. That simply means if it is something that never worked and people would have died from it, make the politician first die. That is Jamaicans' perspective. Fast forward to about 3 months later, when it was discovered that the vaccine actually worked and it was saving lives, and the second batch came to Jamaica, the Jamaican people said, don't give the politician, make them last get it. Give we first. So every opportunity you get, Jamaicans are the first to throw a politician under the bus. No if, ands, or but about it. And that is one of the reasons why our voter turnout has been so low. They don't like politicians. So when politicians take out them picnic school fee and then baby feed money and go give it to people thinking so them love, but they don't like politicians. A 15-year politician get a raise up here, you know, when everybody else's pay went up by probably 5 or 6% or whatever. Doesn't matter how low it is. Politicians' pay never move. And that's why, you know, I listened to the leader. I listened to the Prime Minister spoke recently, and I listened to the Minister of Finance spoke. And they made a point that I really want to drive home to some people. The Minister of Finance says we have always governed Jamaica through optics. We have never done anything because it was correct. It was the right thing to do, including fighting crime, including how we treat people in the society. We have never run this country how country is supposed to be run. We do it based on how it looks. So even though something is right, it's the moral and correct thing to do. Because it don't look good, we now do it. And that has been our problem. That's why we pedal away, kick the can down the road for 15 and a half years without giving politicians a raise. And when the chicken come home to roost now, we are ball. But them not forget it. And the same thing with the vaccine. And I tell you, if they had increased the parliamentarian salary by $1, it would have been a problem. It would have been a problem. Because they just don't like politicians. And they might have good reasons. I'm not going to dispute that. They might have good reasons. But we can't get into the reasons too. Because most people think that Jamaicans politicians are corrupt. And of course, some of them are corrupt. Some, not all. Some of them are lazy and some are corrupt. That's true. We can't dispute that or deny that. That's factual. But why are they corrupt? Why are they lazy? Why are they such low performers, if they are? And that is where we need to go to the crux of the matter. Because this very salary that we're talking about is a part of the solution to that problem. Most people don't want to have the discussion because people scared that when they talk about it, it is going to become an issue. Right? Yes, some of them are corrupt. But what causes corruption? And I will always go back to Jamaica's favorite country and Jamaica's favorite leader, Lee Kuan Yew, and Singapore. 1972, when Lee Kuan Yew came to Jamaica, and don't quote me on the 72, not 100% sure, but let's go back to when Lee Kuan Yew came to Jamaica, looked at Jamaica's economic model, took it to Singapore, implemented, and turned Singapore into a first world, first class economy using Jamaica's economic model. And we were left behind to just wither away. Right? The same economic model that Jamaica had in the 70s is what Lee Kuan Yew came here, adopted, took it to Singapore, and became a first world country. And everybody talk all the while, oh, Jamaica should be like Singapore. Oh, Jamaica. Yes, Singapore pay them politicians top dollars. So why is it that you want to be like Singapore, but you don't want to do what Singapore does? Everybody wants to be like Lee Kuan Yew, but nobody wants to be Lee Kuan Yew. Nobody wants to take tough decisions. It's the same problem where we can't fight crime, you know. It's the same problem where we have not defeated the monster called crime. Because we look at the optics of it. The Minister of National Security is timid because of him stepping at some nasty nigger throat. It not gonna look good. If you broke nasty nigger neck, it not gonna look good. So because it not gonna look good, you don't do it. And because people not gonna like how it look because politicians don't forget no money, so they never raise them pay for 15 years. But let me tell you something. Chicken come home the rules now. And I've always said that Jamaica need, whether it's a one-term or two-term prime minister, we need somebody that is going to fix the ill of this country, irrespective of how people want to feel about it. And for fear of sounding arrogant about this whole issue, we need to fix Jamaica. Decisions must be made that are not popular decisions. There must not be decisions that is based on how much vote you get. Who cares that damn about vote? We've been getting vote from 1962. What are we there today? Some of the most intellectual people, lawyers, have run this country. What are we there today? Michael Manley was one of the most braggadocious attorney on earth. P.J. Patterson was a well-decorated attorney on earth. What happened? They preside over the worst economy that Jamaica has ever seen. So listen to me carefully now. It is time to take tough decisions. And to hell with who no want to be a part of tough decisions. Part of the tough decisions is giving politicians a living wage. And not just politicians, but the entire public sector must be paid properly. And that is why nurses were able to get in the region of 300% increase. Teachers were able to get up to 250, some of them 300% increase. And they will deny it. They will deny it to death. I posted a spreadsheet on Twitter yesterday, garnered over 40,000 views, thousands of comments. And not one teacher was able to present a pay stub to rubbish the claim. And they don't want to talk about it. They are dishonest. You know why they are dishonest? They are dishonest because they're not having the conversation based on facts. They're having the conversation based on their political lineage. the Teachers Union, might I remind you, was the first organization that was put in place as an affiliate of the People's National Party. And some people don't want to call it for what it is. Well, me and them nobody here. I mean, we call it for what it is. The conversation is a political conversation. We're not having the conversation with any honesty or integrity to back it up. Because none of them can present a pay stub. I called several teachers and I said, tell me how much money you earn from 2019 until 2023. And none of them want to declare it. Because they are dishonest. The conversation is not a conversation on honesty. It's a conversation based on one of the key ingredients that has been injected in the heart of every Jamaican. Bad mind. Bad mind, nothing else. And my experience is based on what means to my clients. I have spoken to teachers. And when I said to a teacher the other day, wow, you must feel good now because the government took care of you, you get big extra and you get raise of pay. How you feel? She said she was okay with the money that she's earning. She's okay with her retro. But she was uncomfortable that someone who came into the job 4 years after her is getting almost the same money as her. And I asked her the question 4 times. I said, so are you okay with what you are making? She said, yes. But she's uncomfortable because somebody else who came in the job 4 years after her is getting almost the same money as her. So that simply means a parliamentarian like a Carl Samuda, who's been in the JLP from when he was a boy, should be upset with a Tova Hamilton who just riding on Andrew's coattail last week and get the same money as him. So Moreland Wilson, Donna Westmoreland, who barely scraped through the knee bruiser. JC must upset. A JC who sit in parliament for years and fight when the PNP was beating JLP. So JP must be upset with a Moreland Wilson. We're not even sure what time of night him came in, but him win. So JC must be upset with him. Huh? That is the sort of politics that we have. That's the kind of conversation we're having where this salary increase is concerned. It is born out of bad mind. Nothing else. You get 300%. You have people who are earning minimum wage. Them can barely sign their name. And them sizing up to the judge. Minimum wage earner. You can barely write a sentence. Is complaining that why a judge must get $32 million. Huh? And nobody don't want to call out these hypocrites for them talk. A teacher who fail. Teachers have failed us equally like politicians have failed us. Because make no mistake about it, Jamaica should have been a 10 step where it is today. Politicians have failed us. Politicians have failed us. But we could call a spade a spade. If you were to go back from 1962 until 2023, let us put the blame where it needs to be and call a spade a spade. If politicians have failed us, there are 2 sets of politicians in Jamaica. There's one team that represents the Jamaica Labour Party, and there's one team that represents the People's National Party. Both of them have managed the affairs of this country. And it is sad that when the PNP ran the affairs of Jamaica, they were not able to give any form of increase in wages to anybody or any meaningful increase. Right? When the PNP ran this country, they ran it to the ground. So we could go back to some history now because we're going to break this thing down, you know. And whomever who don't like it, one little button up on the corner of your screen, just press it and run away. Take away yourself if you don't want to hear it. If you don't want to hear the truth, take for yourself, because when we talk tonight, the truth. I believe in the Jamaica Labour Party. I mean, I water that down. But it doesn't mean that I cannot be honest. It doesn't mean that I can't speak facts. Because when I talk, I tell you if you take out on Google and call no uncle from Balaclava and ask him if we say a lie. Make we go from 1962 to 1972. That's one political life. The GLP took Jamaica from pounds, shilling, and pence to dollars and cents. That's the second largest move that Jamaica has ever made in history. The first one was to remove Jamaica from the clutches of colonialism and brought us into an independent country, 1962. That was done by the Jamaica Labour Party government under Bustamante. The largest amount of schools that has ever been built in this country was built by that same Jamaica Labour Party. 57 secondary school and 128 primary school. Built by Labour. But you want to like it. You don't want to like it for your business. May attack it. Put it in your pipe and smoke it. Take it to your bank and bank it. The PNP came in office in 1972 under the leadership of Michael Joshua Manley, son of former Premier Norman Washington Manley. He came to office in 1972. And no further don't want to hear the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth tonight. Why you all are a hypocrite. In 1972, when Michael Manley took leadership for Jamaica, the country had a growing economy of 18.01%, the highest GDP growth that this country has ever seen. As great as Andrew Holness is and Nigel Clark, two of them put together has never done what Ulas Shearer did. Predict that this election, as rocky as you might see the water be, this election is going to sell floor, lime, every credit you want that I give. Because you deserve it. Because while you might not be able to deliver 18.01%, you have done what no other party have done. And when I say no other party, you only have one other, which is the PNP. So 18.01% in 1972, that's what the PNP got. And by 1974, Michael Manley was on his knee all over the world, cap in hand, begging. What happened? Bad policies. Bad, I must say this, you know what I must say? Because we have a low voter turnout. Historically, we have a low voter turnout. And we predict that this election, as rocky as you might see the water be, this election is going to be a high voter turnout. You know why? Because people have better memory now. Information is at people's fingertip now. Everybody can put up the GLP and PNP and measure them. And you can make a decision from an informed position. I'm sorry, I'm big enough yet. I'm soon come big enough. You have a big up yourself. Nadia, big up yourself. Soon come. Chris Banton, big up. But hear me out. So 1972, 18.01% growth. By 1974, we are at the IMF begging money. Michael Manley. Bad economic policy. And why may I say? Because an election is going to be coming. And this country is going to be at a level where it has high economic growth. It might not be at 18.01, Dr. Clark. I don't know if you can prove me wrong, but I'd love for you to prove me wrong. It might not be at 18.01%, but I'm certain that there's going to be some economic growth. And people must be reminded that every single time that the PNP win an election in Jamaica, they got a growing economy. And they have never, ever, ever been able to continue. So what if a bad mind are going on? But let's keep it in context. So 1972, 18.01%. By 1974, we broke. By 1976, the PNP did what no other government, only communist government in the world did with those kind of things and dictatorship. Call a state of emergency and lock up the opponent and call a general election. The only communist country does that. declare a public state of emergency, lock up its opponent, and call an election. Enough people are like that.
I challenged the business community to set up a civic committee. And it's called a civic committee, but I made sure that it is full of PNP people.
Deceitful.
Because we have an agenda.
Conniving and dishonest.
I challenged the business community to set up a civic committee. And it's called a civic committee, but I made sure that it is full of PNP people.
Deceitful.
Because we have an agenda.
Conniving and dishonest.
I was in high school when we won in 89. I graduated high school and PNP was still government. I graduate university and PNP was still government. I get my first job in this country and PNP was still government. I buy my house as an adult and PNP was still government. That's the beauty of 18 years of continuous, sensible, democratic leadership that put the progress of the people at the center of the agenda and not the progress of friends. So when we lost in 2007, it came as a shock to me. And believe you me, I worked those 4 years to ensure we won in 2011. Because it was unnatural for the PNP to be in opposition. And then we're going to lose in 2016. And now it seems as if we have forgotten how to win.
You know what they did? They lock up all party workers for the GLP back in 1976. And by 5 o'clock, by 5 or 6 o'clock when the poll closed, they released them. No charge. No charge. So all of the PD worker, PD captain, and community leaders who were organizing and mobilizing to the party, lock up on them, put them in a jail. And by 6 o'clock when the poll closed, they released them. No charge. That was the PNP for you in 1976. That's the PNP for you in 1976. That's how they won the 1976 election. And they continue, and everybody can pull up that chart from 1962 until now. It will tell you. This information is not something I concoct for myself. This information is well researched. If you go through the 1970s, right up until the 1980s, early 80s, we had a deficit. So we moved from 18.01% growth in the economy to a decline of up to 5%, negative 5%. That's what the PNP took as thriving economy and gave it to us, broken to the extent that we're in deficit. When GLP came to power in 1980, a $500 million them have in their coffers. And it was a loan that Saddam Hussein from Iraq gave to Michael Manley. It was a loan that Saddam Hussein gave to Manley. We were broke. We had no money. Eddie Seaga took over in 1980, a broken economy, and started the process of rebuilding Jamaica. And he built 100 and odd institutions. Most of those institutions, we are benefiting from them today. Auditor General, Contractor General, you name it, Hard Trust, you name it, all those, UDC, all of those stuff built by Edward Philip Garciaga. And he did that to bring back a country that was sent to the precipice by Michael Mann. He says, come on, Michael. So we rebuilt it again in 1980, and by 1989, the Jamaican people, for whatever reason, I will get into those reasons one of these days, because there's more to that story of why the GLP lost in 1989. But nonetheless, we lost. And we lost in 89 with a growing economy of 7.4 or 5.4%. Either way, it's a plus because we had a negative 5%. And by 1989, we're growing again by 7 or 8%. And the PNP took again a growing economy, and by 1993, we were down the tube. When Michael Manley changed his uniform from the bush jacket of the Communist Party of Cuba, and then brush him off and put him in a suit and tie, Edward Seaga said to Michael Manley during the campaign that if there's one thing I would say to you, and this wasn't during the campaign, I think this was after Michael Manley had won the election in 1989. Eddie Seaga said, if there's one thing you have to do not bow to the pressure of the United States and deregulate the economy. At the time, I was a little boy, but I was tuning to JBC, and I used to watch the discussion at Parliament when the news came. We didn't have any live broadcast that they do now. When the news came, I remember Michael Joshua Manley put his right foot on a podium there, a glass of water. I said, Jamaica will move forward on 3 pillars. Deregulation, privatization. What's the other one? Liberalization. Liberalization, privatization, and deregulation. No regulation on the economy. Privatize it and liberalize the dollar. Genius Eddie Seaga said to Michael Manley, you cannot liberalize the country's dollar until you have adequate net international reserve. Michael Manley didn't listen because he had no respect or appreciation for capital. Remember, he's against capital. He's against people with money. He has always said that if you have $10, you must take half it and give it to the poor. The PNP has not changed their spot a bit because today the PNP has a leader who has recommended to Nigel Clark that he should stop paying down the country's debt and use a percentage of the GDP to feed people. Same policy that they pursued in 1972 and the same policy that they pursued in 1990. And I don't know if I need to tell you more, because from 1990, we knew what happened. 40,000 businesses went out. The entire financial sector in Jamaica crashed. And what was so devastating about that conversation is that it happened at the time when the rest of the world are growing. Countries are growing 15%. 15%. Countries are growing. And Jamaica went backward. Just recently, Dr. Nigel Clark revealed to Jamaicans that it has taken us 30 odd years to get us back to pre-Finstock level. Meaning, we just finished here with the damage we PNP did back in 1990. So don't take it lightly. And people with money, people with brain, people with memory must rivet these things on their head. Because as bad as things might appear, there's worse out there. Mark my word, there's worse out there. So don't take it lightly. Don't take it lightly. There is going to be an election. There is going to be an election at some point. Don't know when. Don't know when it will be. Prime Minister alone has that privilege to know. But people must be reminded of the options that we have. And I'm going to go back now, since we don't go down the history path, we're going to go back now to this whole thing of salary. And I presented that background to prove to you why the PNP were never able to do what this government has done in terms of modifying public sector wages. The PNP could only get $100 billion to give to public sector if they borrow it. And they will have to borrow that money at probably 25 and 30% interest rate. And they love that. They love to borrow money at interest rate. If you want to talk to a guy who likes to borrow money at high interest rate, you go down there and talk to Dr. Omar Davis. He used to come to the parliament and boast about how much money he get to borrow. Right? And when you borrow it, we only get about 40 cents out of each dollar. Right? And everybody, all of the politicians, them, most of who know today, is enjoying this very pay increase. We're the ones who were beating desk when Omar Davis was boasting about how much money he can borrow. This government has not boasted about money they can borrow. They boast about how they manage the revenue that comes into the government. Prudent fiscal management that has given us space in the economy. You know, I enjoy this. Why? Because I remember there was a time when I used to just listen to these words about fiscal prudency and space in the budget. These were just dreams. These were the stuff that we dreamt of. None of us knew that Jamaica had the potential to preside over a $1 trillion budget. None of us here knew that Jamaica could have gotten to the stage where we could have presented $100 billion to give to public sector workers, and we didn't borrow it. None of us here knew that that was possible because we live under a system where it was hand to mouth. And that is why it's so uncomfortable for some persons. It is uncomfortable to do the stuff that we were supposed to be doing anyway. If the PNP had managed, my brother, the country affair the way they're supposed to manage it back in the 1990s, Jamaica would have been 30 years ahead. So this money that we're talking about today should have been money that the politicians were getting long ago. And the level of quote-unquote corruption that exists should have been long gone. It should have been long gone. But because we kept kicking the can down the road and we kept focusing on optics and how things look and how it appear, we didn't do what was right for Jamaica. And each time there was a pay increase for public sector workers, smaller as it was, the politicians never got a raise. Well, I will say that cautiously, because there was a gentleman called Percival James Pattison who gave himself an increase and never gave none of him. Fee parliamentarians none. They had 42 seats in parliament and he took a 100% increase for himself. He took 100% increase for himself as Prime Minister. Mark you, all the other Prime Ministers would benefit. But he took that for himself. Wheeled him back on him shoulder and cut. That's what PJ Pattison did. Nobody not bringing that into the conversation. And I'm not saying that because I want to be. I don't want to sound arrogant. But the facts must be on the table when we have these discussions. We can't have these discussions in isolation of the facts. And I see my good friend somewhere in the chat there. And he's the man who usually have the facts. He's the man who rely on for facts because he doesn't have the luxury of saying anything that is not factually correct. So there are some questions I want to ask. I'm going to bring him on here because I want to ask him a few questions. Because there's a big debate out there that we need to put to rest. And this year, the closing of Sabbath, going into Sunday morning, we need to put it to rest. Because I beg one of my math pro here, to create a pie chart showing us the $100 billion. and tell us how many teachers benefit. We only have 63 parliamentarians, both Labour Rights and PNP. It's only 63 of them. So I want to see that pie chart and what it reflects. What percentage of the $100 billion did parliamentarians receive? And why is the discussion solely about parliamentarians? There are so many other persons who benefit from these salary increase. And it is important that we get some things right and we get some information, factual information. There's only one thing I want to have this discussion on, is on the basis of facts. Nothing else. So when these folks out there fronting up and carrying on, tell them to come to the discussion with facts. I asked several teachers yesterday to do a calculation on their salary, on their pay stub, and tell me if between 2019 and 2023, if they have received 100% increase in salary, and not a single one was able to come forward with that information. None. They wheel around and they dance around the issue. Not one was able to come to us with that factual information. So we're going to bring on the minister. We see Minister Morgan somewhere here in the chat. We're going to bring him on in a minute, and we're going to ask a few questions and get some clarification from him. He has always been somebody who we can rely on for the facts and not just opinion. So let's take a break and we come right back.
Greetings, Nalda Adi here, and today we're in the streets of Jamaica trying to find out whether or not the people know what the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation is responsible for. Let's find out. All right, Margie, so what is the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation responsible for?
Getting jobs for people and see to that the country run right, and see to that everything the best of health and wealth.
Really and truly, them response everything, though, Magina. Everything them response, I know.
Apparently, I think our house and water car, you don't know.
If I'm going to buy a house, I know that them can help me to get all my land title.
Yeah, man, that is correct because they're responsible for the National Land Agency, so you're most definitely correct. Respect.
That is Andrew Holness Ministry now.
Yes, it is.
Then he responds for development and housing.
They have to deal with like Port Authority or climate change and planting trees or some of that.
The Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation is responsible for implementing policies through its key portfolio areas, including housing, urban renewal, environment, climate change, works, water, land, and economic policy and investment. Visit www.megjc.gov.jm to learn more. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at megjc_jm.
All right, so welcome back, everybody. As promised, we have the Minister of Information, my good friend Robert Nesta Morgan. And he's a man going to wind up his mouth and him come over here saying, him come and him speak it like it is. And that's one of the things I like about Minister Morgan. He come over as Nesta. Greetings, Minister Morgan. We're standing by for him. I think he's going to join us in a few minutes. But let's hang tight. But I like the fact that when he comes on these programs, man, he give it to you like it is, raw and factual. So we're going to rely on him to get some clarification because there's this argument out there, man. We have to put it to rest, you know. There's a pie chart going around suggesting that there were other persons in the public sector that really enjoyed in excess of 100% increase in their salaries. And people are challenging it, but nobody is bringing the facts to bear. Nobody is bringing information to us to say, okay, what is out there is incorrect. Here's the correct information, right? So we're going to bring Minister Morgan on to see if we can get some clarification on some of these things. Blessings, Mr. Morgan. How you doing?
Hey, Papa Morgan. Good night again.
Yeah, no, Bridget. But they are give thanks, you know. How you doing? Everything good?
Yeah, a bit low, but I can hear you.
Nice. All right. We crank it up a little bit if we can. But, Minister, boy, it's been a rough couple of days out in the field of communication for you. And I know I've seen you on several platforms trying to provide some clarity to a lot of the misconception that is out there. And I know your ears are tied to the ground, and you know, I just want to get from you some clarification on some of the burning issues and the burning concerns as it relates to public sector compensation. I don't even know if compensation is the right terminology. This was just more, this was really more than a compensation. It was really an adjustment. Well, long overdue adjustment.
Yes, I'm hearing you now. Go ahead.
All right, perfect. So I'm telling you, Nestor, that we have seen a lot of misconception and misinformation circulating out there. We like to base our conversation here on factual information, not just assumptions or opinion. And a lot of opinion is floating around. You're a member of the ruling government, you're a minister, and you play a very key role as Minister of Information. So you don't have the luxury to come with your own personal opinion. When you come to us with the facts. There's a misargument out there suggesting that this public sector adjustment only benefit a few. It's just a few persons that get 100%. Only parliamentarians alone get 100%.
That is not true, Chopper. I mean, the government, because of how we have been running the economy, was able to find $100 billion thereabout to give the public sector transformation life. Interestingly, out of that $100 billion,
yes,
only 0.6% of it.
0.6%.
Yes, only 0.6% of it is being used to pay MPs, cabinet ministers, councillors, and members of the executive. And I see people like Damian Crawford coming out and comparing us to Bahamas. Bahamas doesn't, their leaders don't pay any income tax, right? Ministers pay 30% tax rate, right? So the Prime Minister, let's go to it again. One of the challenges that we have with this conversation is that a lot of the persons who are speaking about it are very dishonest.
Yes.
So a lot of the persons who have got the big increases do not want anyone to know that they got a big increase. You know, we have nurses who have gone over 200%, police officers who are paid at the same rate as me as a cabinet minister. We have judges who are over 30 million, and so on. So what is happening is that the PNP is trying to rile up the public against the government because they don't really have anything to campaign on. They can't campaign on the leader. They can't campaign on the legacy that they left. So the only thing that they're locking into is the salary issue. I don't want to I have all the papers here, Chopper. You know me already. I don't speak based on my opinion. So let's look at, and Dr. Clark gave us access to the website where anybody can go on to the Ministry of Finance website.
Yes.
These are not my words. Let's look at nurses, and we're going to start at the bottom of the scale. We're not starting at the top of the scale. We're starting at RN1.
Yes.
With effect from April 1, 2022, the original salary was $1.1 million. With effect from April 1, 2022, the salary is now $2.7 million. As of April 1, 2023, the salary is $2.98 million. And by April 1, 2024, the salary will be $3.24 million. So if you move from 1.4 million to $3.24 million minus 1.14, so you're getting a $2.1 million increase. That's 200%.
That's 200%, yes.
That's 200%. If you go up to RN2, registered nurse 2,
Yes.
original salary $1.4 million. By 2024, it's going to be $4.3 million.
Mhm.
Right, Chopper? And then if you go to RN3, the original salary was 1.6. By 2024, it's gonna be $5 million. RN4, original salary $1.9 million. By 2024, it's gonna be $5.8 million. RN5, original salary, and this is the lowest band. This is the beginning of the band. Original salary is $2.6 million. By 2024, it is gonna be 7.8. As of April 1 this year, it is $7.2 million. Registered
That's an
nurse,
RN. That's an RN.
RN7. Registered, which one?
That's an RN7, correct?
RN6, $2.6 million going to 7.8.
7.
RN7, $3 million going to 8.9. RN8, $3.5 million going to $10 million.
So I have a cousin. Listen to me carefully. I have a cousin who's an RN8.
Yes. She's gonna be getting.
You owe me 400,000 for about 7 years now. You can't. No, me
As of April 1, 2023, that person is earning $9.2 million.
All right, I'll touch base with her very soon.
So you can collect your $400,000 stuff like that.
That's good money. That's good money.
Yes, it is. I think the problem that you're having, is that we resisted publishing persons' salaries at the beginning of the conversation.
Which makes sense.
Because Jamaicans do not like for you to talk about them salaries. And when you're negotiating with different groups, the police are going to start comparing with the nurse are going to compare with the teacher and so on. So we said, you know what? We're not going to publish persons' salaries. But we've reached the stage now, Chopper, where we are publishing it. And I see some people on social media when people are coming on and say, I don't earn that amount of money, they say, well, show us your payslip, and they can't show it. Right? As it relates to the Prime Minister, the minister is essentially the political head of a ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And the permanent secretary is the civil service head of the ministry. So they are both almost equal,
on par,
but they're not really equal because the minister is responsible for policy while the permanent secretary is responsible for execution. So the permanent secretary executes what the government policy is. So essentially the minister is a little bit above the permanent secretary.
Mm-hmm.
From time immemorial, the agreement was, and it has never changed for the last 30 years, that the minister will earn $1 per week more than the permanent secretary.
So this is not something new. This idea about a dollar above.
No, it's not new. It has been around for 30 years. Started in 1986. It was reaffirmed in 1989 by the committee that Michael Manley set up.
My question for you though, Minister, while you're at it, if that is the case, why is it that there has been this gap for such a long period?
Because politicians who are afraid of what is happening now have refused to allow the proper upgrading of the salaries over the last 15 years. So politicians who don't want to face the conversations that we're having now as a society depressed the salaries of parliamentarians and ministers. So you ended up with a situation where permanent secretaries could have ended up earning more than the Prime Minister. So there were situations where, based on their time in service and support, permanent secretaries could have earned $10 million while the Prime Minister was earning about $9 million. You ended up with a situation where permanent secretaries were earning more than ministers, right? So when the permanent secretaries negotiated their salaries, they negotiated it to a particular level, which is a top line is $17 million.
Yes.
And the question became, well, we're doing a reclassification. 15 years we haven't increased salaries, and the question was, what should we do? And the decision was made: do not do anything. Allow the system, the traditional system, to come into force. Which is, we didn't do anything. I never had a negotiation with the Ministry of Finance. The nurses did, the doctors did, the teachers did. I'm a public servant just the same, but that right that everybody else had to go into a room and negotiate for salaries, I never got that opportunity as a minister, as a human being, as a Jamaican, as a citizen of Jamaica.
You have that right. You should have it right, eh?
What happened is that it was decided that, listen, we're just going to use the formula that exists. We're not going to change anything. We're not going to improve anything. As a matter of fact, we're going to reduce the prime minister's level from 30% to 25% above a cabinet minister.
So, so there's actually a reduction at that level?
There is a reduction. If it is that there wasn't a reduction, the prime minister would have gotten more than he's getting now.
So why that's not a part of the conversation out there?
No, I understand, Chopper, people raising concerns about this. I mean, we're a democracy. But one of the challenges that you're having in this conversation is that people are being very dishonest, a lot of them. People are being very irrational, a lot of them. The Prime Minister is not the biggest paid person in the government. There are numerous persons. The person that reports to the Prime Minister at the NHD earns more than the Prime Minister. The Port Authority head earns more than the Prime Minister. The Chief Justice earns more than the Prime Minister. And let us go down a little lower. The Commissioner of Police, I believe, earns more than the Minister of National Security.
Who is subordinate to who?
The ACP, Assistant Commissioner of Police, earns more than a cabinet minister. This is the type of politicizing of wages that we have had in our society. And here's the bigger point of it. Omar Davis started this thing where instead of giving people proper increases, you gave them allowances. So we had hundreds of allowances in government. But here's what happened to the workers. When time for pension came, the allowances are not calculated in your pension. So a police officer who is earning $80,000 a month and he gets $70,000 in allowances. When his pension time comes, he's earning $70,000 based on the pension. And when he goes home and he gets the first pension check, he's like, what the hell is going on? So what you were doing is you were depressing wages, but increasing allowances. So what you had also is that you had people who were traveling officers who were not traveling. And people who were supposed to be traveling officers were not getting traveling. What you also had is one person have a car, 5 persons go in the car, and every person in the car is collecting traveling. And part of the thing with this government that is different from a lot of governments, Chopper, is that we function based on principles, not on the emotions, right? And if you're functioning on principles, your decisions are going to be different than, let's say, Mark Golding, who is functioning on the emotions. I think I want people to understand. Let's look at what Mark Golding has done. Mark Golding has not said he will not take the money, you know.
No, listen, we are very keen on that, Minister. I think the
Mark has said that he will give up 80% of the money.
Until
this is a billionaire we're talking about, you know. This is not me. We come from ghetto. Mark come from rich white people from England. You understand? I am
all money.
Jamaican, born and bred. Every single member of my family was born and bred in Jamaica. I have no legacy, no inheritance, no nothing. I am coming from the depths of it. And we have a billionaire who is basically saying, I'm not going to take the money because I don't really need it. And you shouldn't take it either because I'm not taking it. You cannot compare Mark Golding with a Moreland Francis or a Tova Hamilton or or let me give you one of them guys, or Natalie Nita Headley.
Yes.
Because I will say to you, Chopper, that a lot of the opposition members campaigned for an increase, right? Because
Is it
they
the reason
recognize.
they're so silent?
Huh?
Is that the reason why most of them are so quiet on the issue?
Yes, because if you notice in the press conference, they could not announce that their parliamentarians and their councillors will not be taking the increase because you were paying councillors $120,000 a month.
Yeah.
So let's say a councillor like my councillor comes.
Somebody tag Damon Crawford for me.
Eh?
I want them to tag Damon Crawford. I'm bringing come here. Make a find out something for me.
I don't know why you're tagging somebody who is dishonest, you know.
No, because that's how you fix them. When a person is dishonest, the only antidote to dishonesty is honesty.
So the point I'm making to you, so let's look at Damon Crawford.
Yes.
Damon Crawford is somebody who I considered a friend of mine as a young person coming up in the political space. Somebody I heard speak and I felt that he had some good ideas and he can contribute. But the problem that Damien has is that Damien does not speak factually. He uses very smart language and numbers to trick the people. Not only that, but we have somebody who in the political process has been rejected 2 times by the population, who is trying to tell members of parliament that they should not accept an increase.
But he said he wouldn't.
He said what?
Remember, he said he would prefer to get a pay cut, a haircut, than a pay cut.
So you see the double talking, Chopper. So you have people when they were in another circumstance, they acted in a different way. Yes. When Bruce Golding said we're not taking the increase, Damien said I would prefer to take a pay cut than a haircut. A haircut than a pay cut. But no, he's here pretending to be Jesus Christ, presenting false information to the public in order to create a political situation. But it's not working. Because when I went to North Central this week,
yes,
none of the people who spoke to me, I've been there twice this week, none of the people who spoke to me were saying, we think you are being unfair to the country.
Yes.
I think people recognize that if you want good leadership and if you want to attract persons to be a part of the political system, you cannot take a man from a company in Jamaica and he's earning $30 million a year and then give him $4 million a year as an MP.
Doesn't make sense.
Who are you going to attract? And then we complain that we're not getting quality leadership, that the type of leadership we're getting in parliament is poor. But you still you don't want to do anything to encourage people who have the competence, the knowledge, the education, the experience in running business, the experience in running systems to be a part of it. Because if you listen to a lot of the people who are commenting and you say, would you run for a member of parliament? Their answer is no. If you listen to a lot of the people who are commenting, did you vote in the last election? We now vote. So you have a set of people, and if you want to vote, it's your business, but we have to talk the facts. You have a set of persons who do not participate in the process, whether they vote PNP, JLP, or no P. They do not participate in the process. They do not contribute to the governance of the country in terms of trying to bring more people to hold politicians accountable, to hold the parliament accountable. So on one hand, you're saying treat politicians like they are the scum of the earth, like they don't deserve to be a part of a good system. But then on the other side, you're saying politicians must behave at a particular level. Right. And I'm very happy as a young person, Chopper, that we're having this conversation, because it's a conversation that I think is long in coming. I mean, and to me, it's not a win or lose conversation. To me, it's a conversation where the people of Jamaica need to decide what is the type of leadership that they want.
They have
Right?
to decide that. They have to decide that. And you know what's good also, Minister? The fact that you are from an era that is different. The older folks would have kicked the can further down the road. And this whole gap between, for example, permanent secretary, which is hinged to a minister, that problem would have persisted for another 10 years.
But what I keep asking persons is, fine, you don't want to pay the prime minister that amount. How much should he get?
And what's the feedback you're getting?
Most people can't answer, because the answer is going to be, if you pay the prime minister below the permanent secretary level, or you drop his salary, you're going to have to drop the deputy prime minister's salary, the leader of the opposition salary, the minister's salary. And if you drop the minister's salary, you're going to have to drop the permanent secretary's salary. Then you're going to have to drop the chief technical director's salary. You're going to have to drop the divisional director's salary. You're going to have to drop the supervisor's salary. You're going to have to drop the senior manager's salary. So what you're going to have, and this is why the Gleaner messed with me today, I never rejected what the public is saying. I am pointing out that the decision you make, if you make a decision to drop the salaries, it is going to have a ripple effect across the entire public sector. Because you cannot have a CTD earning more than a permanent secretary and reporting to the permanent secretary.
But
and you cannot have a permanent secretary earning.
Wouldn't you also face a legal problem, Minister, if that were to happen?
Yeah, because you already signed contracts with these persons. You already have agreements with these persons. So are we saying that ministers should earn less than permanent secretaries? That is the question that we have to answer, you know. It's a simple question. Take out all of the arguments and all of the things. The fundamental question is, should a minister earn less than a permanent secretary?
And that would have already been discussed at various levels and would have been agreed that the minister earns $1 a day more than the
for 30 years. For 30 years. Right. So, Chopper, you know, everybody on your live can go onto the Ministry of can go onto the Ministry of Finance and look at the numbers.
But Minister, you brought some numbers there, you know.
Let us start at the bottom. Let us start at the police. Assistant superintendent is now moving from $2.5 million to $6.3 million.
2.6. So it's not a 400.
A constable is moving from $874,000.
Yes.
To $2.3 million. A corporal is moving from $1.3 million to $3 million. A sergeant is moving from $1.4 million to $3.8 million. An inspector is moving from $1.8 million to $5 million. Assistant commissioner, $2.5 million to $6.3 million. Deputy superintendent, $3.3 million to $7 million. Superintendent, $4.3 million to $8.5 million. Senior superintendent, $5.6 million to $10.5 million. Assistant commissioner of police, $7.5 million to $12.9 million. Deputy commissioner of police, $9.07 million to $50 million. So I made a mistake. Before this adjustment, the deputy commissioner of police was earning more than the minister of national security. The deputy commissioner of police was earning almost the same as the prime minister.
Wow.
The Deputy Commissioner of Police,
Yes.
before this reclassification, was earning 9.7 million, 9.07 million.
A deputy commissioner
And
was making before the
and the
reclassification.
Minister of National Security was not earning $9 million.
I wonder if people understand this. So why is my question to you, Minister? Why is this not coming out in the discussion?
Because
out
people
there
don't want
in
to talk about
traditional
it,
media?
Chopper. It is easy to cuss the politician.
That's serious disparity there, though.
And here's the joke about it, Chopper. A lot of people don't even remember that we increased minimum wage from 9 to 13.
Uh-huh.
From $9,000 to $13,000.
Oh my.
That's almost 50%. That's more than 50%. Let me do the calculation. I don't remember the exact number. What percentage of 15,000 is 9,000?
It's not like 50 or 49 something percent.
You can determine it. I'm not good at maths.
About 50%.
But the point I'm making to you, Chopper, is that in any mechanism that you use to assess the situation, you would realize that a lot of the persons are not being honest.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Let's look at weekly paid workers, Chopper.
Yes.
Weekly paid workers are like a gardener and
Yes.
those people.
Uh-huh.
Right? Let's find one, a good one. Let's find a good one here.
Let's
for
look
you
at the
to-
cooks in
for
the
you to
school.
get. Let's look at the category of male couriers.
Male couriers.
Male couriers.
Persons who
Male, as
ride
in
those
M-A-I-L.
bikes and
Male couriers
yes.
were earning $8,000 a week.
Before the reclassification.
As of April 1, 2023, they are now earning $15,000 a week. And as of April 1, 2024, they will be earning $17,000 a week.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. Think about that.
So this misinformation, and everybody's hung up on 100%. And teachers were telling me yesterday that they were not earning. Oh, we didn't get 100%.
They were not what?
Yes, teachers. I spoke to about 4 teachers yesterday.
And they were not earning that much money.
They told me that they did not get 100%.
But there are teachers who did get 100%. And there are teachers who got 30%, there are teachers who got 40%, there are teachers who got 50%, there are teachers who got 100%. Let's go to teachers. Let's go to teachers.
Yes.
Teachers. The lowest level, I'm going on to the bottom of the scale. Pre-trained teacher
Yes.
was earning $600,000 a month.
Pre-trained.
$699,000 a month.
That's a teacher with a diploma.
April 1, 2023, that pre-trained teacher is now earning $1.3 million a month. That's over 80% increase.
Yes.
And they can't say they used to get allowances because pre-trained teacher never used to get no allowance.
Right.
Let's go to the trained teacher, diploma trained teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Used to get special teacher allowance of $169,000.
Mm-hmm.
So effective April 1, that teacher moved from 1.043 million to April 1, 2023, 2.08 million. So if you add the allowance of 169,000 for the year to the 1,043,000, you're gonna get $1,668,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
You minus $1,068,000 from $2.4 million. Or no, let us minus it from 2.245 million, which is what they're gonna get April 1, 2024. How much percent is that?
So
that's
like,
over 100.
That's over 100, yes.
Right. Let us go up to trained graduate. The trained graduate was getting an allowance of 338,000. So let us add 1.351, which is what they were getting base 2 plus 338. So that would be 1986. So they'll be getting 1.68 million, right? That's what they were getting, including their allowances. April 1, 2023, they are getting 2.82 million. So 2.825 minus 1.689. Right? So I carry the 8 to the 2 and carry the whatever. Let me use the calculator because it's quicker for the people.
Yes.
2.825, 2825 million minus 1,689. 2.825 million. Minus 1,689 million. That's an increase of over $1 million.
Yes.
You understand? So when I understand, Chopper, it's hard to comprehend
why we having that difficulty in the conversation out there in the space.
It's $1.13 million in a Chopper.
Yes.
That's over 80%.
Yes.
You know, so, and I think one of the sad things about this conversation is that people refuse to go on the website and look at it for themselves.
But I don't think they need to go because I think people know. Because I don't believe that the persons who are having a difficulty with this is having a difficulty with their own personal increase. For example, a lot of the teachers that I spoke to, they didn't have a difficulty with the money that they are getting. They were more focused on what others are getting. They were
but
saying,
that's the nature of human beings. Nobody don't want anybody to get more than them. You understand? So if you notice, nobody's talking about the judges. Nobody's talking about the police. Nobody's talking about the nurses. You realize you don't hear the nurses coming out and saying anything?
No.
You don't hear the judges coming out and saying anything. You hear any police officer coming out and saying anything?
No, it's strange enough. But the teachers are talking, but they're not presenting the evidence to back up their conversation.
Because they know that when you look at the pay slip and you compare it to the base salary from 2021, you're going to see significant increase. There are some issues as it relates to settling the teachers' issue. There are some senior teachers who are not getting their full pay. And I think that's something that the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Finance need to work on. There's no excuse for it. People work, they should get the pay. But what we should not do is be dishonest. Come.
But let us also, Minister, look at another thing that is coming out of the conversation is the cry.
Hold on a second, Chopper. Hold on a second.
Yeah, go ahead, Minister. We're going to put Minister back in a quick second. But one thing I want to ask about is really the cry for proper or better or more accountability, not just from politicians. Because I think if we're going to go down the road of accountability, Minister, we need to broaden that. What's your thinking on that?
No, I think that there is an important message that is being made. I'm switching phones, Chopper.
Yeah, go right ahead, man. Go right ahead.
Just give me a second. Let me switch phones.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm going to pull it down and we come back to Minister in a second while he switches his device. But it's a very important part of the discussion, folks. I see Pamela Lodges here. I see Gravish. I see Kizzy Stylist, Bridget, Jennifer. A lot of folks are up in this joint this evening. Share the program. Call a friend. Tell a friend that we're on. And we're on with Robert Nesta Morgan, the information minister. And of course, he's giving us some information here that will somewhat set the record straight, because we've had a lot of conversation on this issue. And the entire media, the entire space out there is flooded with misinformation. And a lot of the persons who are having the discussion, as Minister outlined earlier, they're not having the discussion on the basis of facts. They're having the discussion on just opinion or emotions. And they're looking at what others are making and not themselves. Minister, whenever you're ready for us, let us know you're back. Yeah. So Minister is switching his phone, switching his device and coming over. We see Olive Allen is here. Big up yourself. Ryan Keys, Paulette McDonald, Denzel. Long time we haven't seen Denzel, man. What's going on, my brother? Nadine Dakri is in the building. Patrice. Big up yourself. Kizzy Stylist, Sharon Davis, Bridget. What's going on, Bridget? Bally Foster, my friend Barrington Foster is in the building. To Music, my friend over there in Atlanta, Georgia. Big up yourself. Big up yourself, my Atlanta folks. Tracy and McLean, big up yourself. Kanai Barrett, big up yourself as well. And Pamela Lodge. Thank you guys for tuning in. You know, this would never, ever be possible without you guys. So share the program. Tell a friend that we're on. We're here with Robert Nesta Morgan, Minister of Information, setting the record straight, giving us some information that will put to rest some of the misconception and misinformation that is swirling around in the public space. Minister, you have changed your device. You're ready for us again?
Hold on a second.
All right, cool. So Minister is not yet ready. Still working on his device. To Music, what's going on, my brother? I trust that all is well over there in Atlanta, the Big Apple. Sharon Foster, what's going on with you? Rashima, what's going on? Rush. Good to see you as well. A lot of my folks from over in the Zell is on the platform. Big up yourself, big up yourself, big up yourself. Phyllis Sutherland, big up yourself. Labor right, big up yourself. Good to see you all, man. Share the program. Call a friend, tweet a friend. Tell a friend we're on and we are live with Robert Nesta Morgan, Minister of Information and Communications Director for the Jamaica Labour Party. He's giving us some information that I am hopeful will settle some of the unease, that exist there. We see Diane Jackson. I was hoping to see Miller at the end. Big up yourself. Morris Senior. Donovan Blake, good to see you as well. Welcome again to everybody. So Minister is back. Yes.
Good evening. I want to touch legal officer.
Yes.
So
go right ahead, Minister.
Legal officers. These are the people who work as legal officers in the ministries and do certain things. So I'm starting at the base, the minimum.
Yes.
The legal officer 1 started out with $1.9 million, right? And they got $40,000 for laundry, right? $187,000 for library, and $140,000 for robing. So when you added all of those together, 140 for robing and library and all of that, that would be 7, 16, 1. That would be $367,000, right? So when you add that to the 1.9, you get 7, 6, 2 carry 1, so you get 2.236, right? Million. That's what they were getting, $2.236 million. With effect from April 1, 2023, they are getting $3.7 million. So let's say 3.7 million minus 2.36. Let's go to the calculator again.
Yes.
Because I'm not being a bossy slave to tell them that me have maths brain. And I think we need to do these things. So the calculator says 2.36 million. Or should we do the other way around? $3.7 million minus 236 million equal 1.34. So 1.34 from 2.36 chopper.
1.24 from 3.26.
1.34 from 2.36. That's 50%, not true?
Mm-hmm.
So they got a 50% increase when you include their allowances.
Mm-hmm.
And people are saying that when you go up further to the top of the band, legal officer 6 moving. Legal officer 6 is like the solicitor general, the public defender, and those people.
Yeah.
The children's advocate. They were getting 4.9 million, which is when they add up all the allowances, they were probably getting like 5.2 million.
And they're at what now?
Their salary moved to April 1, 2023 to $10 million.
You know, Minister, let me just be frank with you. Let me tell you one of the things.
You don't have to listen, you don't have to believe me, Chopper.
Exactly.
Go on the ministry website. It is there.
Let me tell you what I am happy about, Minister. That we're having this discussion and we're having this conversation all over Jamaica. And I'm happy that we're having a discussion where we can provide $100 billion to public sector workers. We are having a discussion where persons are receiving an increase as opposed to wage freeze. And that is where I find it very interesting. Because a few years ago, not so long ago, Minister, the outrage would be about wage freeze. Today, it's a different conversation.
You remember, you know, these are the same people that from 2012 thereabout to 2015, 3 years, had to suffer a wage freeze.
So there's a vice principal here who
Chopper,
just messaged me.
I'm going to have to run, but ask the question first. I have 2 minutes.
There's a vice principal who said she's a vice principal with a master's degree.
Right.
To date, I've received no retroactive payment. She has received no retro. And using the formula presented to her by the JTA, her net pay is less than 2% increase.
That cannot be correct.
So, I think she...
which is why I said to you, there are anomalies in the system.
Yes.
Where the ministry and the agencies and
I don't think she's saying that what she's receiving is correct. I think she's just pointing out the amount.
And that's what we need to work out. Yes. But to say that teachers, the agreement that we signed, that teachers have only gotten 20%. That is false.
Thank you.
That is false. When you calculate it over the 3 years, remember it is 2021, 2022.
Yes.
2022, 2023. And 2023, 2024. So we're in the middle of the process, you're going to get another increase 2023, 2024.
But how they calculate, when they're calculating the Prime Minister and parliamentarians, they don't look at it in the 3-year phase.
They look at it in the 1 year.
Yes.
Minister,
we're going to let you go. We appreciate it, man.
Thanks you very much, my friend, and thanks to your listeners.
Thank you very much, Minister. Yeah, man. So that was Robert Morgan giving us some information that I'm hoping will sort of set the record straight. And like I said to you in my opening remarks, you know, that there's a lot of dishonesty in how the conversation is going. And the minister reiterated that people are not honest in presenting information, open and honest information. Sir Dabney, big up yourself. Good to see you, Sir Dabney. It was just a few years ago, you know, in 2020, that the former minister and former chairman of the People's National Party wrote an article and made a comment where he's saying that, I'm talking about none other than Bobby Pickersgill, who had said that, and this is not long ago, he was calling on the government to increase not just parliamentarians' salary, but also he was calling for an increase in the CDF. Now, I am quite certain that at the end of this process, one of the things that I am hoping to see is that there is going to be a proper mechanism in place to hold not just parliamentarians, but public sector workers accountable. Part of the problem why Jamaica is not moving faster is because we have a lethargic public sector. We have a public sector that is just nonchalant in their approach. There's no system of monitoring and management in place. There's a resentment every time you have the discussion with certain group of public sector workers about performance based. The teachers are one of those groups. They're not willing, they don't want to be judged based on their performance. But I think now that you have, I mean, it's now evident that we are now enjoying an economy that is growing, right? I think it's now high time that we start to look at performance base, because even persons within the public sector will appreciate the fact that if they perform and produce, they can improve their salary. There's money to be made in public sector. There's money to be made in government. And gone are the days when people scoff at government jobs. The truth is, the government is the biggest employer in Jamaica, whether you want to like it or not. There's no company in Jamaica that presides over 1 trillion Jamaican dollar. None. If you were to combine all of these companies together, they don't preside over what the government presides over. So why is it that the governor of the Bank of Jamaica or one of the corporate entity head should earn more money as a CEO, and the prime minister who presides over the largest purse in the country is getting less? I totally endorse a wage increase for parliamentarians. The only caveat I'll put in there is the fact that I believe that there needs to be some level of accountability, and that accountability should not just lie within the halls of Parliament. It should be extended, especially to permanent secretaries. Permanent secretaries have been allowed over the years to walk scot-free, while ministers are the ones who are dragged through the mud, who are hauled before court and wherever to answer to charges and allegations of impropriety throughout ministries. When you have a permanent secretary who is the head cook and backwasher, if you ask me, they are the accounting and accountable officer, but they have never been held to account. I think it is high time that that sort of mechanism be put in place to hold them accountable. Bev Samuda, good to see you. Dion Jackson, Chuck, original Chuck Finley, good to see you, my brother. Kingsley Clark, good to see you. Annette Allen, so if you are in Jamaica, tell us where you're watching us from. If you are in the diaspora, tell us where you're watching us from. Sir Dabney, I'd love to get your view on this, man. You're a part of the system. I'm one of the persons who advocate and will continue to advocate that whilst caretakers are not a part of the formal political structure, I still do believe that when caretakers are ratified by either political party, they should be brought into the fold at some level. I'm not saying that they ought to get a salary, but perhaps, whether it is a shared project or something. Because you must understand and appreciate that those persons who are caretakers, they represent a part of the political divide in Jamaica. So if it's a constituency that has a Jamaica Labour Party member of parliament, then the caretaker, who is a People's National Party representative, would have at least a chunk of voters in that constituency that would look to him. Because make no mistake about it, folks, we're a heavily politically charged country. And I truly believe that caretakers, there must be some consideration for caretakers to be brought into the fold, because they too have a responsibility to look out for a group of persons within the constituency or within the division. So it is something that is worth looking at. Jamaica is getting better. Our economic fortunes are getting better. Not saying that we should go ahead and start squandering money, but some of the things that we were never able to do back then, we should start doing them now. And one of those things is to ensure that our parliamentarians and public sector workers are properly compensated. And now that they're properly compensated, it is high time, full time now, for them to be held to account. It is public sector workers that is going to drive Jamaica. It is the public sector workers who are going to bring us to the level of first world. I don't think parliamentarians alone can drive us to first world. I think it's going to take a lot of those public sector persons to step their game up and to bring us to that level. Eric, good to see you. Nicola, Mario Hall, my brother. Donna Clark, good to see you all. We're going to take a break, and we'll come back. We're going to have our final thoughts. Stick and stay. We'll be right back.
Labor Day 2023, that are the free. Just mark down the date, Tuesday, May 23. Right time to plant a tree. Start weed out the place. Grab a lass, grab a shovel, make we green up this case. Fruit tree, shade tree, make we plant it there. It no matter if it big or if it little, yeah. Ready up, listen and follow me there. Make us so 99.9% of shade where they bought from the tree, them they round ya. Big up the people who plant up the trees years ago. Now we know say the action they wiser. More tree food security a run up. Go on in that the go plant a tree and make it come up. Shade it a go give we now the summer and go burn up. We a plant up the tree so we environment a turn up.
This Labor Day, May 23, plant a tree for life. Promoting climate change, food security and road safety. A message from the Labor Day Secretariat.
Transformations 2023, People, Quality and Technology is a public exposition of the JCF by the JCF for all our stakeholders, and that means you. Between May 11 and 14 at the National Arena in Kingston, you will meet our people. We'll share many of our new and emerging police technologies. We'll provide insights into our quality journey, a journey